Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, got a bunch of parts laying here on the ground. So I got a pretty major project I'm going to be working on. So all of this is going to go in my 2005 Ford Excursion with the 6.0 diesel. So we bought this when it was only a couple of years old, I believe back in 07. And it has right around 220,000 miles on it right now on the original head gaskets and head bolts. And unfortunately, I think my head gaskets are on their way out. So I don't have any oil or coolant mixture or anything yet, just a lot of pressure building up in my degas bottle. So I figured it's time to go ahead and replace the head gaskets and upgrade to some head studs. And I'll also be upgrading a bunch of other components while I'm in there as well. And as you can see, I will be doing this in my garage, so I don't have a lift to go ahead and lift the cab or anything. So I will be pulling the whole motor out. So I'll be showing you guys how to do that. I'm going to try and record everything as possible. I won't be able to stick it all in one video, so I'll probably have multiple videos on how to do this, you know, like separate ones on how to pull the engine, how to rebuild it, and then kind of how to put it back together. So bear with me as I try to get those videos out as soon as possible. But I just kind of want to show you what I'll be installing in it. So I guess I'll kind of start from left to right here. The majority of these parts I got from Blessed Performance, so shout out to those guys. And then also Powerstroke products. I went ahead and bought a bunch of stuff from them as well. So go ahead and get started here. So I did buy a new XDP heavy duty starter, so I'll be putting that in. This is going to be a brand new turbo from KC Turbos. It's the Stage 1 Jetfire I'll be putting in there. And then got a new fast titanium fuel system I'm going to be dropping in. That I will have to drop the whole fuel tank to install, so that'll take a little bit of time doing that as well. So I should be able to show you how to do that. Of course, some standpipes and dummy plugs from Ford. This here is the driven diesel. This box is going to be the regulated return with the fuel bowl delete. Below that, I got some, that's going to be the BD diesel up pipes, along with the BD diesel high flow exhaust manifolds, and then some hardware along with that. A couple sensors there. I think one is there, the brand new IPR sensor I'll be dropping in. And then I did go with brand new O-ringed heads from Powerstroke products. These are the O-ringed heads with the heavy duty valve springs in them. And I did buy their head gaskets, well, the whole set, because they recommend you use their head gaskets with their O-ringed heads here. So I bought their whole kit. This includes all the upper gaskets, and then I also bought their lower end gaskets. This includes like the bed plates, and then the oil pan gasket, all that kind of stuff. So I'll be doing all that as well. And then also from Powerstroke products, I got their updated push rods and then brand new lifters as well. So I'll be replacing all that. And then down here, this is actually going to be a Powerstroke Products Stage 2 cam I'll be dropping in as well. So that ought to be pretty nice. And then be doing a new high pressure oil pump here from Diesel Site. So I'll be installing that along with a brand new low pressure oil pump. And then in this box here, this is my brand new injectors. I went with some Holders Premium 175 30 nozzle injectors I'll be dropping in. And then some HHC diesel, these are those leak proof nipple cups I'll be installing as well on the oil rail. Coming over here, this is going to be my head studs. So went with the Gator fasteners. You can see this is the Blessed Performance edition. These are recommended by Blessed Performance, so I'm going to give those a shot. And then this is going to be the brand new O-Dogs ported intake I'm going to be dropping in. Kind of excited about this. Just getting more airflow and everything to the 6.0. And then of course, brand new glow plugs. Just went ahead and bought all 8 of those. Original Motorcraft OEM oil cooler will be dropping in. And then this from Mishimoto is going to be a oil catch can that I'm going to be installing on this as well, just to keep some of that oil out of this brand new intake. I'm going to see if this helps. And then on order, I do have a brand new Banks Power intercooler with the intake elbow and all new pipes as well. It just hasn't showed up yet, so just waiting on that. So with that, guys, I think it's time to go ahead and get started. As you can see, got my engine stand and lift, all that already, and let's go ahead and get started. So one thing you guys want to think about before you go ahead and start pulling everything off is your AC system. So I will be pulling off the AC condenser. I know a lot of guys that just set it aside with the line still connected to it, but since we're pulling the whole motor, I think it's going to be easier just to pull the whole thing off. And so since I was still able to drive this around, I took it to one of the local shops here that I know a guy, and he went ahead and recovered the old Freon, and I'll probably go back to him just to have it recharged afterwards. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and drain the cooling system. As you can see, I got a bunch of white residue, so you can see it's been puking out and it's kind of a little low on coolant here. Let's just go ahead and pull this cap first, and then we'll go down below to the radiator and start draining it. And then come down below here on the driver's side. As you can see, I do have an aftermarket aluminum radiator on this. Normally you guys will probably still have the plastic one, and you'll have a 19 millimeter plastic plug, which you'll need to undo. You can see I just got a twist one on this. So get yourself at least a 5-gallon bucket or something. And let's go ahead and loosen this up. Go ahead and let that drain. And so while that's draining, I'm going to go ahead and start removing my front bumper. As you can see, I got an aftermarket front bumper on this, so it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm probably not going to record that, since most of you guys probably won't have this style bumper. But if you got the factory one, you're going to have a couple bolts here where your tow hooks are. And then if you come over to the side, you're going to have a couple more bolts inside there as well. So go ahead and remove those, and then you'll be able to just lift the bumper off of here. So let me go ahead and get this bumper off, and I'll come back. So once you get your front bumper off, let's go ahead and remove the grill. So you're going to have 4 7/32 bolts we need to remove. So once you get those bolts pulled, you'll want to slide it forward, and then you're going to have some clips down below here. Of course, mine are missing. And they were never replaced, so mine will just pull right off. But if you take a look on here, you're gonna have clips right in here. There's one there, one here, and then on the other side. And you'll just take a flathead screwdriver and you're gonna pry and then pop the grill off of there. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and just pull both batteries. So grab an 8 millimeter, go ahead and disconnect your terminals here. Then grab an 8 millimeter. Your hold down is going to be right there. So go ahead and pull that. And you can usually just pull the battery out with it, like that. And then same thing on your passenger side one. And then once I pull these, I'm going to go ahead and put both of these on just a little float charger or trickle charger, because when we go to install these, we're going to put these batteries through a lot of work getting this engine started back up. So if you guys got a charger, go ahead and throw both batteries on a charger. So now we'll go ahead and remove the headlights. So you got 2 7/32 bolts there, and if you come down below here, you got 2 more right there. So let's go ahead and remove those 4. Once you get those 4 pulled, you should be able to just pop this out of here, and then you can go ahead and unplug your bulb here, just like that. Go ahead and press down on that, and then along with your marker lights as well. And I'm going to go ahead and just replace that bulb while I'm at it as well. You can see the orange is just peeling off of it.
Yep.
And then of course same thing on the passenger side one. Next we'll go ahead and pop off this panel here. So if you look on here, you got a bunch of just these pop-in clips. Same thing on that side and then down along here. So just follow along, get all those out, and then we can go ahead and lift this off of here. And then to get those off, you can just use like a trim tool like this or a cat claw. Just get up under these. If you break them, no big deal. We can get replacements. But that's all it is. It's just that Christmas tree style. So go ahead and get all these out of here. Once you get all those undone, go ahead and slide this kind of out of here. Just gotta watch your hood latch there. Gotta kind of work with it here. Next we need to go ahead and start removing this front panel piece. So we'll start out with these two here. You got two 8mm bolts. Go ahead and remove those. And then down below right here you're going to have a 8mm. And then just above that one we just took off, you're going to have one right down in there, which you'll probably have to use a 8mm wrench to get down in here, preferably a ratcheting one. So go ahead and pull that one. There's that one. And then of course do the same thing to this side. Then go ahead and grab your trim tool here on the passenger side. And let's pop off this one for this rubber piece here. There's that one. And then you can kind of bring that down, and you're going to have two right here. So go ahead and undo those two if you can. Kind of like that. And then on the driver's side here by your air temperature sensor, you got two more right there. So go ahead and undo those two. So like that. And then you got a couple more on the back side of this one here. And looks like it's going to be easier if we just remove this condenser first. Let's do that. So to undo the condenser here, let's undo these two lines here. Those are going to be 13mm nuts. Let's go ahead and remove those. And then again, before you go ahead and open this up, make sure you had a qualified person recover that freon that was in the AC system. Then grab an 8mm. Let's go ahead and remove both of the brackets for the condenser right there. Go ahead and just lift off these brackets here. They just pop off like that. And then with those brackets off up top, you should be able to just go ahead and pop this condenser out of here. Kind of slide it forward. And you should be able to just lift it up out of here. So that. So now with that condenser out of the way, you can see you got better access to this driver's side clips here. Go ahead and pull those off. And that one just broke on me. And then you'll want to unplug your sensor here, and let me get you guys a better angle here. So it looks like instead of unplugging it, we can just pop it out of here. So you kind of got the same style clip just on the back side here. Just pop that off of here. That's what that looks like. Okay, so now we should be able to remove this whole clip. Shouldn't be anything else on here. Just kind of watch your headlight wires. Just kind of poke those through if you can on both sides. And we should be able to go ahead and get this off of here. Next, we'll need to remove the transmission cooler, but first you got a couple lines on the bottom here. So grab a 1/4 inch nut driver, go ahead and undo the hose clamp here. Get that loose. Same thing on the other side here. And then see if you can undo those lines. Probably be on there pretty tight. I'm just going to use some pair of pliers here just to kind of help break it free. And then just make sure you got a drip pan or something underneath when you pull these off. Like that. Let that kind of just drain a little bit here. And then of course kind of the same thing this side here. So it's really hard to get this hose off. So I'm going to undo the power steering cooler here. You got two 11mm bolts. I'm just going to do that for now. Kind of tilt it out of the way. So again, I'll go ahead and let that drain. And then with that same 11mm, let's go ahead and remove these two side bolts for the transmission cooler. And then if you take a 10mm, you got these two bolts on the bottom here. These ones you can just loosen up because it'll slide off of those two. Just kind of loosen them up. And then you should be able to just slide this up. Just like that. Next, we'll go ahead and remove the hood latch here. And what you can do is just take a Sharpie. Just kind of draw the outline there so you know how to put it back together. A lot of times you'll see it's kind of discolored so you can kind of see where it was anyways. Then just grab an 8mm. You got the two bolts on the side. Go and do those. Kind of get that out of the way. And then as I've been going along, I just kind of put these back into place. Just that way you don't lose them. Next, take your 10mm. Let's undo the these radiator support brackets here. And then take your trim tool. Go ahead and pop off your battery cable here. Got these clips here. And you got one right here. This just kind of slides off of here. Off that stud. And then with your trim tool, go ahead and pop off these ones. This one's already missing there. Just for the rest of that piece there, so we can remove this. Next, get a 13mm. Go ahead and pull these two bolts here. Same with the other side here. So we can go ahead and remove this piece. And then if you come on the back side, you're going to have two more on each side as well on the back side. And looks like that one I'll have to use a ratchet for. Next, grab a 10mm. Let's go ahead and undo this nut and stud right here. So that looks like. And then you want to do the same thing to this side. As you can see, I do have a coolant filter kit on this. So I'm just going to go ahead and close these valves here. And just kind of get that out of the way like that. Now we should be able to get this cross member piece off. I'm going to use just kind of a rubber mallet or a dead blow hammer. And let's see if we can pop this up out of here. May need to use a pry bar, I'm not sure yet. Just be careful as you're hitting this, you're not pounding on your AC lines or anything. Just kind of get one side up, go do the other. And let's just see if we can pop off the rest of this piece here. Kind of in the way. To look, but looks like it might be connected down there as well. Okay guys, so there's a couple more clips, but it's way down there, and I just kind of draped it over here. I think if we leave it like that, it'll be out of the way. And then I'll just kind of do the same thing on this side here. Just pop this one out, slide it over that piece, and then just kind of drape this over. Something kind of like that. If you want, you can get this out of the way as well, just so we don't break it. You have a clip right there, and then I'll just kind of set that on the side like that. Next, let's go ahead and remove the degas bottle here. Grab yourself a pair of pliers. Let's go ahead and pull off these two lines here going to the top. Same with this one here. Just kind of get them out of the way. Next, come down below the degas bottle and you'll have the hose going in. Of course, mine has a hose clamp on it. Normally you'll have the spring clamp, but I have replaced this degas bottle before, so I just put a worm clamp on it. So get that loosened up and go ahead and pull off that hose there. Grab an 8mm, go ahead and pull off these two bolts here. Of course, mine is different because I must have lost one before. This is a 10mm, but the other is an 8. And you should be able to just kind of undo this and then lift it out of here. Next, we'll go ahead and take out the air intake here. Of course, mine is S&B. If your guys have the original stock one, it's going to be a little different. So it's kind of hard for you guys to follow this one, but unless you have the S&B. But go ahead and undo this sensor here. Got this little cord here that just undoes with this clip here. Got your mass airflow sensor here. Kind of the same thing, you just got a clip. You're going to push down with your thumb and undo. Like that. Then I'll go ahead and undo some of these worm clamps here. Just 8mm. Do the one on the turbo there. Grab the Phillips, take off the cover lid here. And of course the rest of this, you do have your crankcase ventilation going down here. Let's pull that one off. And you can kind of see it poking through there. Just see if you can lift it off of here or pull this whole thing out. And then on that oil catch can from Mishimoto that I'll be installing, it'll be rerouting this CCV down below there, catching some of the oil, and then it brings it back up into the intake. Next, grab a 7/16. Let's go ahead and undo this band clap here for our intercooler on the driver's side. And then just see if you can kind of separate that. Pretty easy to come off of there. And like I said, I will be putting in a new Banks intercooler in this, along with the piping and all that, and the intake elbow. And then you'll do the same thing on the passenger side here with your 7/16. Hopefully this one comes off as easy as the other side. Pull on your intake if you need, or intercooler if you need to. You just loosen that a little more. So now let's see if we can get this intercooler out of here. Of course, this side's already free. This side here, it's still got to separate a little bit. There we go. Just watch your AC lines here. Just pull that out of there, along with this side. Next, grab the pliers. Go ahead and undo this line going into the radiator here. And of course, that turned on me. And if you guys have a factory radiator, watch out, because this will break pretty easy. There's just this plastic nipple always snaps. That's why I had to put this one on, because I was on top of this one day and my knee hit it and it broke right off. So just be careful as you guys undo these. And then I can kind of drape this one out of the way. You grab an 8mm and we'll go ahead and remove that. Loosen up the worm clamp for your upper radiator hose. Go ahead and remove that. And then I'll just show you guys so you can see the intercooler pipe there, just how much oil gets inside there. That's why those boots always rot. So that's why I'm hoping this Mishimoto oil catch can is going to prevent a lot of that oil buildup. So I don't want that dripping all over the place. I'm just going to kind of shove a rag in there for now. So next you can go ahead and come down below here. I'm going to go ahead and just shut this valve for the radiator so that stops dripping, since that's pretty much done draining. And then let's go ahead and loosen up this worm clamp for the lower radiator hose. And then even though this is all drained, there's still going to be quite a bit of coolant in this hose here. So make sure you got your bucket underneath it. Hopefully this doesn't make a huge mess. Go ahead and try and pull your hose off of here. And of course that's on there pretty good. There we go. So just kind of slowly take this off if you can, so you don't make a huge mess. Just kind of like that, let it drain a little bit, open it back up. I'm gonna move my camera back here. So you can just see how much is still in that lower hose there. Kind of like that, let that drain the rest of the way. Okay guys, so next we need to undo these transmission lines here. And to do that, so you got this little clip here, you can just use a flathead and just kind of pop up on it. That just helps hold it in here. That's all that looks like. And then to get that line out, you'll need one of these quick disconnect tools. I'll put a link in the description for it. Got this a while back. I think I got it at like O'Reilly's or something, but you can get them on Amazon or whatever. And I think it's the 3/8 or the half. I'm not can't remember when I disconnected this. It's been a while. What you do, stick that kind of in there, push on it, and yeah, I think it's the 3/8 here. So stick this up in there, just kind of get it around that. You want to get it inside there. Just doesn't want to get up in there. Try this one again. So maybe it is the half. So stick that in there, and then you just kind of pop that out. Make sure you got a drain pan for that transmission fluid to drain into. Get this off of here. So again, same thing on this one. Take a flathead, pop off this little hold clip. Not really sure what you call it. And then again, your 1/2 inch side. Get that around there. Try and kind of push that in. And then you should be able to pop that line out of there. Just like that. So now with those transmission lines disconnected, should be able to get our radiator out of here. And this should just lift right out of here. Just like that. And then now would be a good time too, if you're gonna reuse your radiator, just to rinse it out from the backside outward. So next, let's go ahead and remove this portion of the fan shroud, so we can get behind there to undo the fan clutch and that. So to get this off, you're gonna have 4 15mm bolts. There's gonna be one right there, another one right there. Come down the bottom here, you got one right there, and then another one right there. And I've removed this before, and when I did it last time, this piece actually broke on the fan shroud. So I'm not going to remove this one because it's already, you can see it's already loose and comes off of there. So I'll go ahead and undo these 3. And the reason I pulled that off before is because I put on the 7.3 liter mechanical fan adapter from Bulletproof Diesel on this, and that gets rid of the electrical connector and all that for this fan. So let's go ahead and pull all 3 of those, or in your case all 4. And then also it's good to use a magnet, because those kind of want to stick in there. So if you have a magnet handy, just to pull them out all the way. And then normally there'd be a nut right here as well, holding that on, but this one's missing on here. So look for that nut if you got that. Now I'm going to pull off this portion here, and this is kind of broke, so I think I just got to pull this portion right here. So you just take like a flathead, just try to get up past that little groove there. Pop this off of here. Just try not to break it. And then you can kind of just lift as you're prying on it. Kind of like that. There's that piece. I'll leave this on since, like I said, it's broke anyway. So what I use to get that fan clutch off is I use my air hammer, and then this pneumatic fan clutch wrench set. You can get this at Harbor Freight. I've used this quite a few times and it actually works really good. What you'll do is for this fan clutch nut, you're going to want to use the 47 millimeter. That fits the tightest on there. And then with this adapter, and I'll go ahead and show you how to use this to get that off. Okay guys, so what you want to do is just kind of pull this fan shroud back a little bit. You can see expose the clutch fan nut right there. If you're not going to be using the pneumatic fan clutch tool like I have, what you can do is get a pry bar or an extension and stick into one of these holes on the water pump pulley there. And then as you get that through there, grab you a large crescent wrench, and then you're going to go down with it and try to break that free. Or you can use a 47 millimeter wrench, which I doubt you'll have because that's a big, massive wrench. Well, like I said, I prefer this method here. So what you're going to do is take this with the hook side down, put this piece up in there, get it on your fan clutch nut there. Let me grab my air hammer. And then what you're going to do, hook this up real quick. Get that on there, and then you're just going to give it a few whacks here, and it should break free. Just watch your fingers there. Let's see if that was enough. So it should spin free now. And you can see it spinning the nut. So let me move my camera. So then go ahead and spin this free. Just watch it. This does come off pretty easy, and it's heavy and it'll fall. So just make sure you got a good grip on it. You see that came off right there. There's what I'm talking about. That's the fan clutch nut, and this is that adapter for the mechanical fan clutch that I got on here. Because as you can see, there's no electrical connector for the fan and all that. So this is a better way to go if you want cool temps, especially while you're towing. And then you go ahead and just pull off this rest of this fan shroud here. Next, grab 7/16. Let's go ahead and pull off this intercooler pipe here. We'll go right at the intake elbow there. Next, we'll go ahead and remove the serpentine belt. So locate your belt tensioner right here. And you got this little hole here for a 1/2-inch breaker bar or socket wrench. Go ahead and stick that in there. And you're gonna go downward with it. And if you notice, you got this locking tab on the tensioner. You can push in on that and then let off the tension. And it holds your tensioner open like that. And then with that open, you can go ahead and just slip your belt off all the pulleys here. And you can take a picture if you want before you do this. Or there's a belt diagram, I think, under the hood. Just go ahead and slip this belt off of everything. And I will be putting a new belt on here, along with a new tensioner and then a couple pulleys as well. Next, let's go ahead and remove the alternator. First, undo your electrical connector. It's going to be behind this rubber boot there. And that's going to be a 14 millimeter. Let's go ahead and remove that. Slide this off. Stick your nut back on there. Then you can undo your electrical connector. Of course, yours might be on the back side. You can see I got an aftermarket alternator on this. So undo that. Grab a 13 millimeter. You're gonna have 2 bolts here and then another one right here. So go ahead and undo those. Then you go ahead and remove your alternator here. Next, grab a 7/16. Let's go ahead and loosen up this clamp on the turbo. And you should be able to just go ahead and disconnect this from the turbo here. This one's harder to get off than I thought. There we go. Go ahead and get this pipe out of here. Next, I'm going to go ahead and unplug our exhaust back pressure sensor here. So you got a little tab on the back here. Just kind of pull up on it and that unplugs like that. Then you grab a 25 millimeter wrench, or just a large crescent works as well. Get that around your exhaust back pressure sensor. Go ahead and loosen that up. And pull that off of there. Grab a 13 millimeter. Let's go ahead and undo these 2 bolts here. This one here, you're probably gonna have to use a wrench because this fuel line gets in the way. So go ahead and pull those off. Then you take your 8 millimeter. If you got the worm clamp, go ahead and pull that off. So you can grab a 16 millimeter, go ahead and bust that free. Then you can pull this bracket off of here. And then you should be able to lift your upper radiator hose off there. That. Next, you can go in and unplug your coolant temp sensor here. Just squeeze on that tab and that comes off of there. This here is for the fan clutch wire that I used to plug in before I did the mechanical fan clutch. So that's undone. So now let's go ahead and get this coolant pipe off of here and unbolt it from the intake. So grab an 8 millimeter, you got one right there. Pull that one off. And then the one holding this onto the intake here. And then this should just pop out of here. You just have to wiggle it a little bit. There we go. Pops out of there like that. Then you can kind of just get this out of the way for now. You can unplug this vacuum line here if you want. Kind of stick that up out of the way. And then just kind of pop this up out of the way as well for right now. Next, you can go ahead and undo some of your wires up here, like your intake elbow here. You push down on this. This one's kind of tricky because you got these side ones as well. Yeah, I think that one's kind of already separated. That kind of unplugs like that. EGR valve here, just come along the back side. Got a tab. That should unplug like that. So I'll try to get some of this out of the way here. You got this sensor right here. Just squeeze on this tab. That should unplug. Just like that. Next I'll undo the VGT solenoid, go into the turbo there. And some of these will have clips on the side, which you'll undo and then pull off. I've replaced this before because they tend to break from the heat. So I got this little tab I'm gonna lift up on. You can see that snaps. And that's kind of how that holds it on there. And then on the underside of your intake elbow, you got a sensor right here. It's kind of hard to see. We got a little tab there you can lift up on and should be able to unplug that. Just like that. Next we'll go ahead and get the FICOM off of here. So I got two 10mm nuts here, and then there's another one in the rear here. I'll try and show you with my camera, but take these two nuts off first. And really I don't even need this bracket because this bolted up to the OEM intake, which I don't have. Okay, so it's too hard to get my camera back in here, but I got a flashlight, I'll show you. So your other two are gonna be kind of right there where my finger is. Of course that bracket's in the way, but right there. And then this one's gonna be right here. You can kind of see that one. So go ahead and pull those two off. And these are actually 8mm, unlike the fronts that were 10. So it's kind of hard to get back in here to get these ones. So yeah, pull that off and there's that bracket. And you can lift your FICOM out here. And then you're gonna have tabs. There's gonna be a total of 3 wires under here. And it's really hard to get up in here. Let me see if I can move my camera for you guys. So you'll lift this up and then you can see you got your wiring harness here. So what you're gonna do is if you can take your fingers, 2 of your fingers, try and squeeze on those. If you can squeeze those 2 together and then press down, you can see that unclips. Same with the middle one here. And then that last one. There we go. Once you get those unclipped, go ahead and bring your FICOM out. Next I'm going to pull off the lower radiator hose here. So I got a worm clamp here. Just undo that. Get that guy out of the way. Next, I'm going to pull off this idler pulley so we can get a little better access to this hose here so we can pull that one off. That's just a 15mm. And then I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but there is a little washer that goes on behind this. So make sure you don't lose that. And then you'll see you got a worm clamp here as well. Go and pull that off the front cover. Next, I'm going to go ahead and remove the intake elbow and this whole portion here. But first, you got to remove the elbow itself so you can get access to these bolts. So what you're going to have is a 1, 2, 3, 8 millimeters, and then this is going to be a 10 millimeter here. So go ahead and pull all 4 of those, and then we'll have 3 5 millimeter Allen screws we need to pull off. And then if you notice, this 10 millimeter here is going to be a lot longer. So you can see how long that one is. That's because they don't use the Allen head, only these 3. This longer one holds that down on this side. So then grab your 5 millimeter Allen head and go ahead and pull these 3. And you should be able to just pull this whole thing off like that. Next, you can go ahead and pull off this intake manifold hose here. Just got this little clip here. Just lifts off there like that. Same with this coolant hose here. This is the one that went to your degas bottle, which I'll probably just go throw it back on there so I don't lose it. Like I said, we're just trying to make as much room as we can up here. Pull that one off. So next I'm going to go ahead and undo the fuel lines to our fuel bowl here. So I'll start out with this one. This is going to be 18 millimeter, and you can put a 17 millimeter on that to hold it as you break it free. Try my line wrench here. Once you get it broken free, it's pretty easy to get off of here. Then this side here is going to be a 21 millimeter, and it's kind of hard, but you can try to get a 22 millimeter on there. I'm going to see if I can just break it free without using one of those. Just see if I can give it a good whack here. And you can see that whole thing moving. So if you can get a crescent, it looks like a crescent will fit on there a lot better. Put that on there, and then try to break it free. There we go, finally. Jeez. Pull that one off. There, like that. And then on the backside ones here, this one's going to be a 18 millimeter here. That one came off pretty easy. And I should have put a zip tie on that before I did that. But you can see we'll be pulling that front cover off anyways. But if you guys want to, you can put a zip tie on here so that doesn't fall down there like mine just did. And then this one here is going to be a 19 millimeter. Just going to pull that one off. That one is going to be leaking some fuel, so just get your rag kind of stuff down in there. That's just a banjo bolt there. And you can see you got the copper washer there, and then there's going to be one on the back side here as well. Like that. Next, go ahead and undo, there's a couple more sensors here behind the fuel or the oil filter housing. So you see that one right down in there. Go ahead and undo that one if you can. So there's There's that one there. And then there's gonna be another one right here. Kind of hard to get to by your turbo drain tube there. Yeah, that one is really hard to see. Let's see if I can move my camera here. So there's a better shot. Well, like I said, this one's kind of hard to get to, but you can see it's just a single wire there. So if you can get your thumb down in there, push on it, and that'll come off right there. Like I said, it's right by your oil feed line for your turbo here. So you get those out of the way. So now let's see if we can just kind of drape this harness over the oil filter housing so we can get that and the fuel bowl out of here. Just kind of do something like that, just to get that kind of up out of the way here. And now we can go ahead and remove the oil filter housing and that out of here. So first I'm going to pull off this 10mm bolt holding the oil feed tube for the turbo, because it's kind of in the way of getting this bolt out for the oil filter housing. Let me get that out of here first. Next, in order to get to the oil feed tube up there on top of the turbo, we got to get this out of the way. You got these clips here. Go ahead and remove these. Try not to break them, but they most likely will. And then over here where your degas bottle was, you can see it going up through there. Pop that one out of here along with that one. And then go ahead and drape this up. And you kind of got one on this side too, holding this wire loom on. So that gives you a little more room. And then I usually just take like a short bungee cord, kind of get that around it, and then just kind of strap it up to the hood here, out of the way. Now you got access to these two 10mm bolts on top of the turbo, holding your oil feed line on. So go ahead and pull those off. There's that. And then there's going to be a gasket under here. Might be stuck to your oil feed tube there. Looks like it is. Now you can just pop this. There's just an O-ring down in there, so lift it. You can see that just pops right off. There's that O-ring, get that out of there. And then before we go ahead and pull that oil filter housing, we need to drain the oil. So go ahead and do that, 3/4 or 19mm. Go ahead and pull off the drain plug. All right guys, so next let's go ahead and pull the oil filter and fuel bowl housing. And then I just went ahead and zip tied this because the bungee cord was kind of hanging down. So if you guys take a couple of zip ties, you can zip tie it around that. That kind of gets us out of the way. It gives us a little more room right here. So then go ahead and grab your Torx T45. And let's go ahead and get all 4 of these bolts holding the oil filter housing out. And you should be able to just pull this out of here. Just like that. It does make a little bit of a mess here. Next, let's go ahead and remove this standpipe here for the oil filter housing. There's a Torx T27 right here. So go ahead and remove that little screw there. So there's that. And then what you can do is just twist this counterclockwise, and then you can go ahead and just lift this out of here. Next, I'm going to get the EGR valve out of the way. That way I can get it soaking in some carb cleaner, get it nice and clean. for the new intake. So you got a couple 8mm bolts, one here and then one on the other side. And then sometimes these can be a pain to get out of here. You can try turning it. And then you can get a pry bar under here. So let me grab a pry bar. So if you can take kind of a pry bar, maybe help pry this out of here. These can get stuck in here pretty good. Oops. See if I can get it with 2 screwdrivers, one on each side. There we go. You can just see how nasty those EGR valves get. And then if you guys are going to reuse your EGR, unfortunately I live in an area where it's got to be in because of emissions, but you can take a pick. You can see this gasket here, we'll remove that. And then there's a couple O-rings, and we're going to go ahead and soak this in some carb cleaner. And let me remove these gaskets, or these O-rings first. You can just see how nasty this gets. So if you get this O-ring off, because we'll be replacing it. Send this one here. And then you should be able to get this gasket off of here. You can see it's just like slime that just builds up from the exhaust gases, and then that oil running through the intake and intercooler and all that. So like I said, that's why I'm hoping the CCV oil catch can is going to collect most of this. So next, let me get a jar and I'll fill it with some carb cleaner, and we'll set it inside the jar. Okay guys, so what I did was I just took a little mason jar here with some of this carb cleaner, kind of filled it pretty much to the top, and then I'm going to set this down in there just like that. I'll go ahead and let this soak and try to get some of that carbon and everything off of there. So next, let's go ahead and get this turbo out of here. And with all this oil filter housing out of the way, that makes it a lot easier to get the turbo out now. A lot of guys will remove this kind of first. This is just the way I'm doing it. I'm sure I'll get comments saying, why'd you take this off, or why'd you do that? But like I said, this is just the way I do it. So grab a 7/16. Let's go ahead and get your exhaust clamp off there. Go ahead and loosen that up. Once you get that loose, you can see it actually broke free. If it doesn't break free, you can hit it with a pry bar. So if you get a pry bar and you just tap on it, it'll kind of unsnap. But luckily, I pulled this turbo off probably 6 months ago and cleaned it. I did a video on that, so you guys can check that out if you want. Just took it apart and cleaned the vanes because my vanes were sticking on it. But this is coming out since I'm putting in a brand new turbo from KC. So what you do, you can see your clip there, your clamp. You're gonna push up on this. You can see that releases it, and pull it out like that. Then you get this clamp out of the way. If your guys is a stock, you'll have a hook that kind of hooks up onto the turbo there. But I got a 4-inch MBRP exhaust on this. So you can see that's separated now. So then come over to the other side. You got kind of the same thing right there. 7/16. Undo that band clamp. Let's see this one. So you can see this one didn't break free. It's kind of stuck. But I can unclip this part right there like that. So So what you do, like I said, you take a pry bar, then you can just kind of get on it right here, and then you're going to tap it. And it still wasn't enough. All right, guys, so I finally got it. I had to move my camera so I can get a hammer in here. But what I did was I took a pry bar right on top, like right around here, and I was able to hit it, and it separated. For some reason, it was sticking right here. But now that's loose. Luckily, I have new band clamps that came with my BD up pipes, so I'll be using that. So luckily, I won't have to reuse this one here. So then you can just kind of get this up out of the way, separated from the turbo there, so we can pull that out of there. And then while you're over here, you might as well pull this 10mm bolt right there for your turbo. Just gonna use a ratcheting wrench. Sometimes these are on here pretty tight, but since I just removed this turbo not too long ago, you can see it's pretty loose. Then come over here to the other side. You got one right there. Go ahead and pull that one. And then if you come over on the back side, you can see it way back in there. And to get that one, what you do, get you about a 6-inch extension, come along the back side here with your 10mm. Go ahead and drop that on right there. Get your ratchet. You can go in right through here. And go ahead and loosen that one up. And there's that one. So now with those three out of there, that's pretty much all that's holding it in. You got your turbo drain right there, which is, there's an O-ring kind of on it. So we needed to pop that off of there, and then we should be able to lift this out. And like I said, it's a lot easier with all this stuff out of the way. So just go ahead and lift up on it like that. And bring this out of here. Next, you can go and pull out your oil drain tube here. This will just kind of slide out this way. It's just an O-ring in there for it, like that. Next, go ahead and remove your turbo pedestal. You're going to have 4 10mm bolts. So you got one right here, 2, 3, and 4. If you guys notice, I do have an EGR delete on this. I will be putting a bulletproof EGR cooler on this because they're getting pretty strict on emissions around here. So go ahead and pull these off. Once you get those undone, this should just come straight out of here. Kind of got to curve it there like that. And then I'm just going to pull these off since I will be replacing it. You can see, I guess I did bend that one up. It's a good thing I got replacement. Same with this one. Next, I'll go ahead and unplug the IPR. So you got this little foil blanket. So you can see there's a little snap on here. Just go ahead and snap that off. And then it kind of just unfolds off of there. And then you got your electrical connector. So there's some Velcro on here. So this is gonna, it kind of wraps around. So undo the Velcro. Once you undo that, you can kind of feel for it. So you're gonna have a tab, kind of like the VGT solenoid I had on here. So once you get that undone. You can unplug it. So you can see that's what that looks like. So that plugged in and then it kind of snapped into place there. And then this just kind of wrapped around it like that. So next, let's go ahead and get some of this wiring harness out of the way. So right where your IPR was, got this stud right here. Pull that off. And then this ground wire here for this harness, a lot of times this will twist off and break. So if you get a pair of just like these needle nose vice grips, see if you can get kind of on that lower nut. It's kind of hard to get in here though, because a lot of times that'll turn with this top nut, and then you break that little eyelet off. So if you get this kind of on here, just to help hold that, because it's hard to get a wrench under here. Let's see what's the best way of doing this here. So if you get it kind of like that, grab your 10 millimeter. Go ahead and try and twist that off as you're holding this without breaking it. You can see it wants to turn with it. So let me see if I can go a little tighter on this. There we go. So if you do it like that, most of the time you'll save that eyelet from getting broken. So there's that. And you can pull this off of here. Just put this back. Next, let's go ahead and get our little connector for our glow plugs undone here on this harness. So you see you got that little tab there. You can just kind of use your fingernail, pull that out like that. Try to get this with your thumb. That unplugs right there like that. You can unhook it here if you want, just to kind of get it out of the way. So now we can go ahead and do our fuel injector connectors. All four on this side. You can do this two ways. You can pull this little snap clip here, or sometimes you can just push this in and it'll unplug, but most of the time it doesn't work, but you can see that actually did. So if you just squeeze on this with your thumb, you can see it kind of expands on the inside there, and then you can pull it off. Or you can just use like a pick and pull this whole clip out of here, pull it off, and then stick it back on so you don't lose it. Whatever way works best for you. So let's try that method again, see if it works. Push down on it. Just like that. As you can see, this one's a lot harder to get off. So if you take a screwdriver or you can take a pick, just be careful you don't want to lose this. And then just kind of pry it up, pull it off of there like that. And then you can pull this out and then just stick this back on there. So like I said, either way, whatever works best for you. These ones in the back are kind of harder, so that's why it's almost easier just to do the screwdriver or pick method. Pull off this stud here, like that. And then of course, same thing on the passenger side here. Undo your glow plugs, and we'll get all these injector's undone. And if you notice, for this one, you got a couple on the stud right here. So you can pull this one off. Get that up. Same with this one here. And then with that, you can remove your whole injector harness. Get that out of here. And then if you come over here to the front cover, by the driver's side banjo bolt here, you'll have another sensor right back in here where your lower radiator hose connected. It's kind of hard to see, but just squeeze that. Try to get that one off of there. It's kind of buried back in there. So there's what that looks like. And then you can kind of bring this up. So right back in here, bring it up. Try to feed this up through here. Let's see if I can feed it back through here. There we go. There we go. So I'll just find a way to get that through there like that. So we can get this harness kind of out of the way too. So then come over here to the passenger side. You can remove this off the battery cable, just a 10 millimeter. It's for that wiring harness as well. Then you can unplug your ICP sensor here on the valve cover. Do that. And then your glow plug harness here, or glow plug control module. A lot of times these are really hard to get off. So you got a tab underneath here. So if you can push in with your finger. Try the black one here. There we go. So there's that one. And green one here. Just like that. And try and pull those off. And if you didn't want to, you could always just unbolt that from the valve cover if you wanted to. If those are hard to get off. And then what else we got holding up here? So then come down here to your AC compressor. You got a connector right there. Might be easier just to use a screwdriver to get this guy undone. Sorry, my hand was in the way, but there's that one. And then right here, you got another one. So go ahead and undo that one. And then you got this little clip kind of going around here. So undo that if you can, without breaking it. Like that. So in order to get that harness out of here, it's kind of stuck behind the tensioner. So let's go ahead and remove that tensioner. You got two 10 millimeter bolts. Get that out of the way. Okay guys, so there is one more electrical connector, but it's buried back in there behind the compressor. It's gonna be for your crankshaft position sensor. I did order a new crankshaft position sensor just because it's right behind this AC compressor and it's going to be hard to change. So I figured just go ahead and do it now while this is going to be kind of out of the way. But first, before we can undo the AC compressor, to get to that, I'm going to go ahead and undo this bolt here that's holding this bracket on for your battery cables here. So that's a 15 millimeter. Go ahead and pull that off. Kind of get this out of the way a little bit, that one. And then you got your ground strap there for your negative cable. Let's go ahead and get that one off. That little stud. Pull that off and kind of get that out of the way because we need to access. There's a bolt here, and then there's a bolt right back in there, and then one on top for the AC compressor. And again, I'll just stick this back in here for now so I don't lose it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get the 2 bolts for the AC compressor. This is going to be a 10 millimeter up front, and then you'll have a 13 millimeter back there. And it's kind of hard to get back in there for that 13 millimeter, but I'm just going to use a ratcheting wrench for this one. Try and get this 13 millimeter back in here. Okay, so finally got that out, and then you won't be able to get the bolt out. It'll still drop down on the hit the frame there, but we'll still be able to pull it out of here. So now let's do the top one. So this top one's going to be right here. That'll be the 10 millimeter. So get that loose. I'm gonna have to move my camera because my camera's sitting right against these AC lines. I'm just gonna fall here. Once you get that kind of undone, get this out of the way here. And you can kind of just move this compressor out of the way for right now. Just watch your bolts there. I'm just going to set it kind of right there for right now. Okay guys, so that gives us a little bit more room to get the crankshaft position sensor unplugged. And it's kind of hard to do down here, but you can see I can kind of press it with my screwdriver here. I press it down on the tab, and then you kind of push with your thumb. Because it's kind of stuck on here. So if I can do both hands here. Tell you, it's not easy getting that unplugged. There we go. So you can see how hard that would be to change with everything still intact. And then it looks like we got a clip right here. So that pulls off like that. Then you got this clip right here. That undone. Kind of bring this up here. And then what I'll do is get this cooling lines out of here, bring this underneath. And you can bring this all the way over to the driver's side and just kind of drape it over here. So next I'm going to go ahead and just remove this power steering pump, since we're at the front of the motor still, and see if we can just kind of tilt it over to the driver's side here out of the way. You'll have 3 10mm bolts holding it on. So you got 2 on top right here, and then down below you're going to have one. You got to kind of feel for it. So let's go ahead and remove those. Okay, so there's that. And then these are all 3 going to be the same size, so don't worry about getting them kind of mixed up there. And then you can take this and just kind of see if you can set it aside right here, kind of on top of the gearbox, out of the way. So then while we're over here, let's go ahead and undo our fuel lines. So you got this little tab here, you kind of push down. Same with this one, press down, and then you kind of slide it forward. And that kind of disconnects there like that. Grab a fuel line disconnect tool. I'm going to try this one here. See if this works. But you want to get inside there. And it looks like that one's going to be too big. Try this side. So you want to get in there, and there's these little kind of like teeth things. So if you get it pushed in there enough, that'll put pressure on those, and you can pull these lines off of here. That one just doesn't want to come off of there. So let me try this. This one is a 3/8. See if this one will work. So we can get it just pushed in there to separate those little tabs. There we go. And that pulls off of there like that. So if you guys can see, there's 4 tabs in there. And when you stick this in there, that releases those. So let's try this 3/8 on this one too, because they look about the same size. Just get this pushed in all the way like that. There we go. So yeah, 3/8 is what you want to use on those. Okay guys, so back over here on the passenger side, there is a bracket holding your transmission lines that go down below there, and then this wiring harness as well. There's going to be, it's hard to see, but there's a 10mm bolt on a, or a 10mm nut on a stud right there. So go ahead and remove that. It's kind of hard to get it back in here and get on it. Once you get on it, you can break that free. Pull that nut off. And then if I'm bouncing around all over the place, I apologize. I'm just I should start on one end and then do the other, but I just kind of go with the flow here. Take that nut off. Oh no, it's a nut. So yeah, there's the nut. And then this should just kind of pop off of there, but it's hard to get my light back in here. And I'm wondering if it'd just be easier to remove that whole stud, because those transmission lines are on it too. And then just take a pry bar and see if you can pry off the transmission lines off that stud there. Just like that. And then you can remove the electrical connector there, which you may have to undo from the starter before we take it off the stud here. Yeah, let's get it off the starter before I pull that off, because it's pretty tight on here, I think. You can see the transmission lines are undone there. Yeah, let's go ahead and try that first. Let's see if there's anything else up top here I want to do before we go ahead and start crawling underneath. Okay guys, so I am going to remove the intake manifold. I think it's just going to make it a lot easier hooking up the chain and everything, because I still don't know how I'm going to pull this out yet. I mean, the intake's got to come off anyways. It's going to lighten it up, even though it doesn't weigh that much. But I just want to get it out of the way. You guys don't have to do this to pull the engine, but I just find it easier, so that's the way I'm going to do it. And to get the intake off, you got a whole bunch of 10mm bolts you need to pull. So go ahead and pull those out. Some are with the studs and everything. But let's just go ahead and start pulling all of these off real quick. And then up front here, you will have one right here, holding your fuel line on there. And I was going to put that in there, but I'll wait till I get it off. So now with all those loose, just watch this one on the exhaust pipe back here. We should be able to lift this off. Got your coolant pipe here. It just connects like that. And then let's go ahead and lift this off. Just watch this fuel line up front here. It gets caught on that. Get that out of the way. So next I'm going to go ahead and pull off the oil cooler cover in that. You're going to have, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So a total of 10mm bolts holding that in. Like I said, I want to take this off because I got a bracket that might work right here to help lift the engine out of here. I'm not sure if it's going to work yet or not, but let's go ahead and remove this since I'm going to have to do it anyways. Once you get those removed, go ahead and pull this up. Just watch yourself, get some rags here, because it's going to end up making a mess just to soak up that oil. Grab a few more rags. And you go ahead and lift this up. Kind of let it drain here. And just get yourself a pan you can set it in. Get that out of the way. And then you can use some rags or a turkey baster. I'm going to go ahead and get all this oil cleaned up out of here. I'm just going to use this fluid extractor from OEM Tools. Works pretty good. So I'll suck all this out of here, and then I'll empty it into this empty oil jug here. So let me go ahead and do this. Get this all emptied out, and then I'll come back. That way I can let my camera charge here. Okay guys, so as you can see, I got it all cleaned up. And then your oil screen here, I want to show you guys on mine. Look at how nasty mine was. There's quite a bit of debris in there. And it's like this really soft material. Not exactly sure what it is, but it did its job on stopping all that from going into the high pressure oil pump. So this just goes just kind of like that on there. And then you'll have some more oil, which I went ahead and soaked up. And then as you guys are doing this, you want to just kind of pat with your rags and not sit there and scrape with it. That way you don't leave a bunch of lint or anything behind. Luckily these blue rags don't really leave much lint at all. These white ones just a little bit, but yeah, just wanted to show you guys that. So I got that all cleaned up. And then my idea, because I had a old bracket just laying around from different cars on the engines I've pulled, just from like a carburetor bracket, but I thought maybe that would fit right here, but it's a little too small. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is probably rely on the engine brackets here and then the one back there to lift this out of here, or I need to go get some chain, and I'll use these bolts here with a chain kind of wrapped almost like an X, and then we'll see if we can lift it out of here. But in the meantime, there's a few more things we need to remove. You got this ground strap going back here. This goes on the back of the block. I need to remove that. And then I'm debating whether I should remove the up pipes. Probably, because once we start jacking this up enough for that oil pan clearance, I don't want to be hitting on the cab here. So I'm wondering if I should just go ahead and remove the up pipes, get those out of the way, and then this heat shield here. So I think that's what I'll kind of work on now. So let's see if we can get that ground strap real quick. Okay guys, so for that ground strap, I can't get my camera of course back there, but just follow it along, and it's going to be right here. So it's really not far down, and it's going to be a 13 millimeter. So just pretty much all you can do is go off a feel. You can see my wrench on it right there. Go ahead and break that free. Of course, it's on there pretty tight. There we go. Once you get it broken free, you can unscrew it by hand here. So there, that's all that looks like. So you get that out of the way, just let it drag, fall down right there, and then I'm going to put this bolt back in here so I don't lose it. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take off my EGR up pipe plug here, 7/16. And looks like my clamps kind of getting stuck here. There we go. Get that off of there. Okay guys, so down below here, let's go ahead and start getting this starter off of here. I went ahead and sprayed my up pipe bolts. I'll show you guys that after we get this off, just to kind of soak in WD-40. Try to get some of this oil from when I pulled that oil cooler. It leaked down in the valley and then back here. So let me go ahead and zoom in so I can show you guys kind of what you want to do here. So locate your starter here on the passenger side, and you're going to want a 15 millimeter and a 10 millimeter to get the electrical connectors off. This is our block heater plug. We'll take that off after we get the starter off. But right here you got this, it's kind of a black cap, goes over the wires. So just pop that off. That's what that looks like. And then you can grab your 15 millimeter. And you're gonna have this nut right here. Go ahead and take that one off. Grab a 10mm. It's going to be right below it. This one right here, go ahead and take that one off. Once you get those off, you should be able to just pull this whole wire harness off of here. So there's those two. Kind of bring it down out of the way. Again, I'm just going to put these back on so I don't lose them or misplace them. And I do have a new starter that I'm going to install anyways, but just for you guys can see, that's how I do it. Okay guys, so now there's a total of 3 13mm bolts holding the starter on. You got one right here, and then the third one is going to be back behind here. It's pretty hard to get to. I mean, there's no way I can show you guys on camera where it's at, but I like to do that one first. And so take your 13mm and then an extension here, and if you stick it up in here, just feel around and you'll feel it lock onto that bolt. Okay, so I'm on it right there. Take your socket wrench. Get that up in here. And let's go ahead and break that one free. Make sure you're on there. You don't want to strip it out. Okay. Once you get it broken free, it's pretty easy to spin out of there. And that's why I like to do this one first, because it's the hardest. And you don't want that starter being all loose trying to get this one out. And it's going to be hard to grab this one, but you can get it from right here. There we go. So that's what that one looks like. So now you can go ahead and do these other two here. Luckily these are a lot easier. And then the last one here. You can see it kind of drop, so just hold it. See, that's why I do that top one first, because it's the last one always doesn't come out super easy by hand. That one. And then you can go ahead and slide this out of here. Next we'll get our block heater plug out of here. And all this is you can see there's threads on it, but they don't do anything. This just kind of is like a little spring clip. Should have got a smaller screwdriver. But you just pop the sides of this out, and this will come off of here, or you can push it in on it. It's just to hold that in there and keep it from falling out. There we go. So all it is you got these two clips on the side right here, and those just kind of wrap around these threads that are up here. So it kind of clicks it on and then holds it into place. Okay guys, so now let's move on to the passenger side up pipe. You can see your exhaust manifold here, and then of course the up pipe connects right here. So I did, like I said, I went ahead and sprayed this. I let it soak in some WD-40. These are going to be a 13 millimeter. You got one right here, and then the other one's right above it. I'm hoping these break free, just because of how rusty they are. So I think what I'm going to try is just a 1/4 inch breaker bar, because I can get that up in here. Let's just see if I can get them at least broken free off of here. And it looks like that's not going to work with my breaker bar on that one. So let me just try a socket wrench then. Just make sure you're on that, because you don't want to strip these out or round them off. Let me grab a small extension and see if that'll help. Let's try the socket wrench. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but those did break free, or that one up there. Let's try this one. Okay, so it looks like those are somewhat broken free. Not going to hold my breath. I don't want to round those off. So let me go ahead and try and see if I can spin those off the rest of the way here. Okay guys, so sorry my camera died on me. I did end up getting the top one off. So it started spinning on me, and what you'll need is a 10 millimeter up top here. And actually, instead of using a wrench, I had my wife up top there with a 10 millimeter socket and extension, and she stood up there and held it while I was able to spin it off of here. And luckily it came off, but here's the top nut. So now I'm working on the bottom one here. I'm just using a 10 millimeter wrench because this one's doing the same thing. You can see it spinning. But if you have a wrench, you can just kind of set it here and it gets caught on the bell housing of the transmission. And you can go ahead and loosen this up the rest of the way. And you see it's really close. And it's kind of hard because my Excursion's lifted, so it's good for some things and it's bad for when you need a reach way up here. So you can see that's still turning on me. Maybe. Okay. So there's that one. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull these bolts. So there's those two. You can just see how rusted they get. As with every exhaust type bolt. And you got this flange here. Kind of undo like that. So there's that part of the up pipe. Now let's go try the driver's side here. Alright guys, so for the driver's side here, looks like it's going to be about the same, kind of hard. I do have this EGT probe here. Let me go ahead and pull this out real quick. Get that out of the way. Um, 13 millimeter and a 10. I think maybe the top one might be easier from up above. Let's go ahead and try to do this one right here. And of course, my EGT probe is going to be right in the way of that. There we go. And then again, see if I can hold this with my 10. And spin this off of here. So there's that one. And you can see it really does help soaking those in some WD-40. So now let's go top, and I think that's going to be easier for the top one. Okay guys, so for this one here, it's going to be hard for you guys to see it, but I got a swivel socket on an extension here going down to the manifold there. So just take your 13 millimeter, I'm going to reach down through here, and looks like I need an extension. So I got a little extension here. Try to get on that 13 millimeter there. Get you a socket wrench for up here. Kind of hold that so that doesn't spin on you. And undo that one. Let me re-grip here. And I slipped off. So let me see if I can get back on there. You can see it's just a flex socket here. Just really hard to get down in here. Okay, just like that, the nut fell down there. can, get this bolt out of here. So there's that one. So now let's see if I can get this up pipe out of here all in one piece. Hoping I don't have to disconnect it from here. Pull those out. So next I'm going to go ahead and undo the flex plate nuts from down below there. There's going to be a total of 6 of those. But I'm going to have my wife out here turning the crankshaft to turn the flex plate so we can get all those nuts off. What I'm going to have her do is, these are just 18 millimeters. So if you get an 18 millimeter socket on here, and then I'll just have her turn this clockwise. I'll tell her when to stop, and then I should be able to access all 6 of those flex plate nuts under there. So let me go ahead and grab her, and then I'll show you guys underneath what we need to do. Okay guys, so underneath here, got your bell housing and of course your oil pan. So you want to locate this rubber plug, and go ahead and pop that out of there. Just kind of pops out of there like that. And then you're gonna feel for 14 millimeter nut, and I can feel one right here. So there's already one in position for me to take off. It's a little bit to the passenger side here, but we should be all right. Can't really get my camera up in here to show you guys, but there's going to be a total of 6 of these on the flex plate. So you're only going to be able to access one at a time. That's why I'm going to have her turn the crankshaft so we can access all those. And then I'm not sure how this is going to work yet. So you want to, I got a 14 millimeter shallow on here with an adapter for a 3/8. Not sure if this is going to work, because a deep well is going to be too long. So really you need like a medium sized socket. So you can see actually that's going to fit probably perfect here. I still got room to kind of come outward. Hoping that's enough. Well, let's go ahead and take this one off. And you're gonna have to hold it, so let me get her to hold that. You can see the the flex plate turn just a little bit as I was trying to loosen that. Let me go up there and show her what to do. Okay guys, so I got her up there holding it. So let's go ahead and break this one free. So once you get it broken free, spin it off the rest of the way here. Try to get your fingers up in there, and then you don't want to drop these in there. If you do, not a big deal. But if you got a magnet handy, just in case, just get it kind of close. Okay, so there's one. So now what I'm gonna do is have her rotate that clockwise. Okay, go ahead. I'll tell you when to stop. So just go slowly. Keep going. You guys just watch your fingers as you're doing this, because this will hurt if you get your finger jammed in here. Okay. Oh. Now just go a little more clockwise. Okay, right there. So here's the second one. So there's number 2. So then just keep going until you get all 6. Okay, go ahead. All right, so here is number 6. And that should be all of them. So there's that one. So like I said, just get somebody to help you get those out. Makes it a lot easier. You can do this yourself. You just got to get up from underneath and go turn it a little bit. But it makes it much easier if you have some help here. So now all of our flex plate nuts are off. Okay guys, so next we can go ahead and start removing some of our bell housing bolts. But before I do that, I want to secure this transmission, make sure it ain't going to go anywhere. So I'm just going to grab a couple blocks of wood. I'm going to go right up under the pan here. It's probably the best bet. And just kind of support it. I'm not going to lift up on it. Just get a couple blocks of wood and then get the jack up to it to where it pretty much stops and doesn't really lift it. So let's do that. So just kind of get it centered, just kind of like that, just right before this little hump here. With my light so you guys can see a little better. Let's go ahead and just jack it up. It's about right there. You can see it just moved up just a hair, but that's it. Because you want it there just to kind of support the transmission. Okay, so now that our transmission is supported, let's go ahead and start removing some of these bell housing bolts. So you got 1, 2, 3. On this side, I think there's a couple up above there. Those are going to be, like I said, 13 millimeter. Let's remove these. On this side. And let me get an extension. That's going to make this probably a lot easier. Okay guys, so the next one's going to be hard for you guys to see. But you can see this piece that comes off of the bell housing here, off to the side. It's going to be right up above that. So go ahead and loosen up or take out that one. And then, you guys probably can't see that one either. Let me see if I can move my light. But if you see that one way up there too, that one we'll be able to get from up top. So don't worry about that one from down below here. Just go ahead and do that one right there where that lip's kind of coming off there. So let's do that. Okay, so there's that one. And then kind of the same thing on the passenger side here. Go ahead and get these two first. Okay guys, so the next one, here's going to be your dipstick tube for your transmission, and then you got your exhaust kind of right in the way. But it's going to be right up above the starter. I can't really get my camera up there to show you. You're going to just kind of feel for it. So it's going to be right there. And then I might need a longer extension. All right, so I got a little longer one here. Let's see if that's enough to break that free or not. Okay, so there's that one. Okay guys, so now with those bell housing bolts out, we still have a couple on top we'll take out after we get the motor mount nuts off of here. So I'm on the passenger side here. This is kind of looking up on the back side of the axle right here. I'm going to go in from the front here, and you can see we got 3 nuts we need to remove, and I believe those are 21 millimeter. Yeah, so 21 millimeter. Yep. So let's go ahead and pull those off of there. I'm going to try to use an impact on the 2 bottom ones. The top one probably won't be able to get an impact up in there. And that's going to be hard even with a long extension. Let me grab a shallow 21 millimeter and see if that'll work. There's that one. So now let's move over to the driver's side. Okay guys, so same thing on the driver's side here. See if I can get my impact in here for all 3. Just hard to get your arms up in here. Just like that. Okay guys, so go ahead and come back up top here, and we'll undo those 2 top bell housing bolts here. Of course I can't really show you guys, but you did see when we were down there on the driver's side, you could see this one up here, so you got to kind of reach for it. It's going to be right back in here. Like I said, this is just, it's easier from up above here, so it's a good thing we took out those up pipes anyways. So get your arm and your 13 millimeter up in here, and then let's go ahead and break that one free. That one's really tight. There we go. So there's that one. And then you got the same thing on the passenger side over here. This one seems a little easier to get to. There's that one. Okay, so that should be all the bell housing bolts, I believe. I'll crawl under there and just double check just to make sure. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So now we can go ahead and start lifting this. Like I said earlier, I think I'm gonna have to go off of the 2 hooks here on each valve cover, close to each valve cover here. But I think I'm gonna have to run by the store here. I got Tractor Supply down the street there. I'm gonna see if I can get some chain to string across from this one and some hooks, and then we'll put our crane right here, and hopefully we can lift up from there, and that'll be enough. If not, I may have to figure out a way to wrap the chain or fabricate a bracket for this. Hopefully I don't have to do that. So let me go ahead and double check, make sure there's no more bell housing bolts, and while I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and let my camera charge some more, and I'll probably just run to Tractor Supply or one of the parts store right now and see what I can go find. Okay guys, so I just got back from Tractor Supply, picked up some chain here. I did double check all the bell housing bolts, and those are all out. There's a total of 9, which is what we pulled. And of course the motor mount nuts, we got those off. And then I'll show you how I set up my chain. So this is like rated at like, I don't know, 1,600 pound chain. But so I got these little clevis hooks here, went around that one. And then kind of the same thing on the back here, and I pulled it as tight as I could. And then we'll go ahead and hook it from pretty much right in here on the engine hoist, and hopefully that'll be enough. So let me go ahead and get our hoist here rolled into place. Get it about right there, and then you can see I got it on the 1/2 ton. If I did it on the 1 ton, it wasn't long enough. It was hitting on the bar down here, so I had to just go with the 1/2 ton. I hope that's enough. I mean, I think this motor fully dressed is right around 1,200 pounds, if I remember right, or right around 1,000. So of course it's not fully dressed, so I think we'll be all right at a 1/2 ton there. So camera in a better angle here. So what I'm gonna do, just go ahead and hook this kind of right in the center, wherever you think the center is. Let's see, probably right around there. And then just make sure you have enough clearance up here, so as we start jacking this up. So I'm gonna go ahead and go slowly at this. And if you have to move in, go ahead. Just make sure these are where they should be. Slowly come up here. It doesn't seem to be coming up much. Let me get in here and see if I can kind of wiggle it. You can see I can lift it. Okay, so it's kind of loose. Go up a little more here. So you can see it's starting to come up. And let me crawl underneath here, just take a peek, make sure everything's good under here. Okay guys, hopefully you can see this. So underneath here, you can see it's starting to separate. Got this little bit of a gap here. So it's definitely coming loose here. So let's go back up top again and try to separate it a little more. So let me just go up a little more here. Let me hop in here again and see if I can just make sure we're still kind of good here. And just watch that up here. Okay guys, so I think what I'm going to do now is see if I can disconnect that wiring harness down here for the block heater, and then that starter wire as well. So let's do that. Okay guys, so if you take a look here, all I did was actually just pull on this, and the it's just this little bracket. It's kind of hard to see, but it came untaped from that little stud there. Let's see if I can get this bracket off. Well, the bracket's kind of stuck on there. I'll show you once we get it off. But anyways, this came undone. Can't believe that was such a pain to do. But you can go ahead and just feed this through here. And of course now the block heater cord's getting caught on there. Sorry about that, my camera's trying to hold this and pull this out at the same time. Let me set my camera down and get this out the rest of the way here. Okay guys, so I got that out of there. So like I said, this was actually taped to this little bracket here, this whole wiring harness. So all I did was pretty much move it and it broke. But it's still a pain getting this thing off of here. And then of course this is where the transmission lines went onto that stud there too, and it looks like it's almost come loose a little bit, this stud. It's not fully against the block there, and then this is kind of chewed up on the end. I don't know if that was from me or what, but you can see this is supposed to just come off of here super easy, but it's not. So that's why I just went ahead and broke it from the wiring harness here. So, but anyway, that's off. We'll take a look at it once we get the engine out of here. And then kind of while I'm here, I'll show you guys, get this out of the way. But if you take a look at the motor mounts, so we need to go just a little more. There's the upper one. So just jack it up a little more and we should have enough clearance to clear the frame for the motor mounts. So I'm just going to go up just a little more. So I'm thinking kind of right there. Our motor mounts have cleared, and now we should be able to kind of pull it forward. Let me just double check under there, make sure everything's good. Okay guys, so looking underneath, that side's pretty much totally free from the transmission. It's this side right here. The bottom's kind of separated, but the side here isn't, so I wonder if it's just kind of seized, because one of those bolts, if you remember right when I pulled the bell housing out, it was really rusty, so I'm wondering if it's just kind of seized to the transmission there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of get in here, see if I can just kind of wiggle this. Try to break it free. See what that did. So yeah, it's still not coming undone on that side, so let me just try and lower this a little bit. There we go. So just needed to lower it a little bit. So one thing I am going to do, guys, is I'm going to take out this battery tray because this piece kind of sticks way out. So you got a couple 13 millimeters there, and then same thing right here. Then you can just kind of drape this back over here, get it out of the way. Sorry Sorry about that, guys. I didn't realize my camera fell. But got all those wires put up out of the way. So now we got a little more room here. So just make sure your power steering pump's out of the way. Your AC condenser or compressor. We may have to move this line. We'll see if we can kind of squeeze it by that, hopefully. And then these cooling lines. Make sure this is going over. Out of the way there. And let's go ahead and start rolling it out. See if we can get this out of here. Doesn't want to stay. And then I will need to go up just a little bit because we need to make clearance for the oil pan to get over that cross member there. So we should be fully off the transmission. Let me just crawl underneath and double check. Okay guys, so it is totally separated from the transmission. You can see how loose we are, so I'm going to go up a little more so we can get clearance from our oil pan. Come forward a little bit. So we'll have coolant leaking out. So just make sure you got something down there. Go up a little more. And it looks like I'm hitting on this bracket back here for the FICOM. Let's see if that's enough. So it looks like I'm not going to clear because of this bracket back here. So let me see if I can take that off real quick. Okay guys, so the bracket I'm talking about is for your FICOM right here on the driver's side valve cover. And it's hitting on this bracket for the degas bottle where the degas bottle kind of slid in. So you just got two 10mm nuts. Go ahead and pull off. There we go. So that's what that looks like. Get that off. That gives you a little more clearance there. So now let's go ahead and keep moving. Looks like I still need to go up to clear that oil pan. So go up some more here. Think about right there. Okay guys, so I'm struggling a little bit to get it out. Those transmission lines down there are kind of in the way. So I'm gonna go down below. I'm gonna try to help shove it through while my wife pulls on the hoist here. And let's see if we can get this out a little more here. Ready?
How much do you want me to pull?
Pull them.
Looks like this one is stuck.
Okay, stop. This coolant cleaned up. Alright guys, so as you can see, more coolant's coming out of that. So let me go ahead and let that drain and clean up the rest of this coolant. Okay, so I got that coolant cleaned up here. So let me just go up a little bit more. Because now that we cleared that down pipe was kind of hard to clear. So now I can go up a little more with it. Now I've cleared down below here where the oil pan is. Just make sure this heater hose here is out of the way. And we should be ready to go ahead and pull. Just watch this AC line over here, that's what I was getting caught on. Go up just a little more. Just double check, so we should be good now. And if you notice, I forgot to undo the transmission dipstick, so it's alright, I took it out with it. Alright guys, so you see, I forgot to undo this. It's just a 10mm bolt here for the transmission dipstick. So you guys want to make sure you undo that before you pull it out. Totally forgot to do that, so. But as you saw, it still came out even with that. So just pull this off. And then that's what the bottom looks like. It goes into the transmission there. You just got this O-ring right here. No big deal. Okay. So now I think I'm at a good stopping point since I got the motor out. And I think it's going to be the perfect time to go ahead and end this first video in this series that I'm doing on my 2005 Ford Excursion. I just showed you guys how to pull this motor out step by step. It's a little time consuming. Just take your time in doing it. And one of the key things too is just staying organized, getting all your tools. When you're done with them, go ahead and put them back after you finish that task. That helps out a lot in getting this done in a timely manner. So, and then I hope you guys stay tuned. So I'll be doing some more videos on this. I'll start tearing this motor apart tomorrow. I'll get it on the stand. And like I said, I got all these parts to put in it. And if you notice, I did get one more big box there behind everything. That's going to be my Banks intercooler with all the piping and intake elbow and everything. So that ought to be pretty nice going on the 2005 Ford Excursion. So hopefully this video helps you out. Like I said, hopefully you guys stay tuned to my next few videos that I'll be doing on this, getting everything installed and put back together. Thanks for watching.